Why the heck does 3MG TV, my music show, have a big tape measure in the back, you might ask? Well, that's because in our last video we established what notes you would need to make major scales and how to find them. We said that we would transfer those into numbers, and that's what we're going to do today. All the numbers have names, and they are all particular measurements that you need to know to get around and to build your musical constructs. So here we've got our chromatic scale across the top, and you'll see that I've written it vertically over on the left. In between, we've got a bit of shorthand, and on the right we have the name of your intervals. So these are called musical intervals. Now what they are is names for the distances from one note to another. Now what they are particular measurements. So just like there's 3 feet in 1 yard, no matter where you start from, it's the same to a minor third that it's 3 half steps. So A to C is a minor third, is 3 half steps. No matter how you lay out the chromatic scale, you're always going to have that same relationship of your starting point to a minor third. Just like when we went to make our major scale, we laid out whatever note that we wanted. In that case, we chose D. Here I've got A as the key that we want to be in. So our reference point is A. So if you were referencing A, and I said, I want a major sixth from A, then you would say F sharp. Because these measurements are all relative to one another, they have the same sonic relationship, or they sound the same no matter what pitch we base them off of. So if you had a melody that say went A, B, C sharp, D, then you could say that that was perfect unison, major second, major third, perfect fourth. And then you could transpose that to any starting pitch, and you would have the same melody with a different bass pitch. Now we're going to go back to our major scale formula from the last video and expand on this idea of transposition and shorthand and intervals. Alright, so here we've got our major scale formula where 0 is the note of the key that we want to be in, so in this case D, and then whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Then we get D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. What you end up with any and all major scales are the perfect and major intervals. So, perfect unison, major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and then the perfect unison or perfect octave again. Now, there's handy numbers next to all of these, so we can then just call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 8/1 because it repeats over and over. So now we could make up entire melodies and explain them to someone. We could say this is in D major and the melody is 1, 5, 5, 6, 2, 3, 1. Now that's just an example, and you don't need to play that or even know what it sounds like, but the point is that you establish a universal way of communicating that's independent of the key that you're in. So you don't have to keep up with so many details for each and every key that you come across. Like let's say that was the melody for a thing and your singer said, I can't sing that high. It would be easy then to transpose that to whatever you need to do by changing the root and then using the same numbers, rather than try to think of letters and then just subtract letters. So what we'll do is modify this in the future to come up with modes and come up with different scales. So we may say 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. And then that would be our Dorian mode. So again, this is just an easier way to keep track of what we're doing without having to memorize a whole new thing every time that we come up with a new thing. Because if you just knew all of your major scales, say, by a series of letters, then that would be 12. 12 things to remember. Or you can do it this way, and you end up with the intervals that make up a major, and that's the thing you remember all the time, especially if you play an instrument that is not linear in its layout, such as a guitar or a banjo, because then it's going to be hard to keep up with what note you're actually playing at any moment, depending on where on the instrument you're positioned. I want you to play and find some of these intervals and figure out what they sound like too, because that's very important for later on when we start to modify and experiment with them, and also to build chords out of them. It's also worth a bit of study to memorize what they're called, because that's going to have some input on chord naming and your recognition of it when you see it in lead sheets and chord charts and things like that. Okay, I hope all of that made sense. If it didn't, leave a comment and ask some more questions, and I'll make some more videos to clarify. We're going to need this stuff when we get onto chords, which will be coming up in some videos coming soon.